Battery 90%.
Sorry about that, folks. Hopefully I'm connected now.
I can hear you.
All right. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hello, everyone. As always, I'm pasting the agenda in here and we wait a couple of minutes for people to join. It seems we have some very interesting topics on the agenda today. Working group proposal and presentation of SCORE.
Andrew, are you presenting? Do I have that right?
Yes, that's me. I'm filling in for Souza. She's not feeling well. So.
Oh.
Yeah. We do have our recordings back up and running, so we will post the recording after too.
Yeah, that was kind of a challenge. So we finally got there. And I'm now also eventually back from vacation. So I know that Thomas won't join today as he's traveling for vacations. Not sure about Alex on the tech side. Otherwise, given that we have most likely a pretty packed agenda, giving people time to properly present, it seems like not many people are joining the meeting today directly, but rather would then watch the recording. So for both of you, Andrew and Paolo, also check in later on discussions in the app delivery Slack channel where people might chime in on those topics, just as a heads up. And
No
also,
problem.
if you're watching this later on as a recording and you're interested, try to reach both of today's presenters in the Tag App Delivery Slack, CNCF Slack workspace. All right, Josh, should we just kick it off?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we just follow through the agenda. I think both topics. Yeah, try to take ideally about like 20-ish minutes. And yeah, let's get started with SCORE.
All right, let me share my screen. Hold on just 1 second. Hold on just 1 second. It's giving me an error, of course. Come on, Mac, be nice to me. There we go. Okay. Let me try now. All right. Is that better? Can you see my screen?
Yep, we can see.
Okay, great. All right, thanks for coming, everyone. I just wanted to kind of go through the slides. Souza couldn't be here today, so I'm filling in for her. I'm substitute teacher, so try to be nice. But definitely I can answer questions, and she, of course, can answer questions. We're both on the CNCF Slack, so you can find us over there. But we can definitely answer any questions that might crop up.
Can you go full screen, please, if possible?
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry, I thought I was. Is that better?
That's slightly, yeah. Let's leave it that way.
Yeah. That's
Perfect.
better. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, I forget it's all on. It's giant on my screen, but it's not on everybody's shared screen. So. All right. So SCORE 1 spectrum to remove them all. So it was launched as an open source project in November of 2022, not that long ago. The pre-launch title was Pause. So if you've heard anything around something called Pause that's similar, that's not a mistake. Pause was just the working title. Score is what we released as. Score has primarily been a part of a Humanitech project, but it is broadening out now quite a bit through forks and other people using it. I am not I am a customer success engineer. She updated these slides. Sorry, she updated a customer success engineer at Humanitech, filling in for Suza, who is our product manager of Score. So what exactly do we mean by Score? What is Score? It's an open source project that is specifically designed to allow developers to enumerate dependencies and resources in a very, a generalized and platform agnostic way that makes it much easier for them to, sort of state exactly what they need, and then allows platform teams, ops teams, whatever you want to call them, to interpret that on their own. So, the Score developer says, I need an RDS database, and then it's kind of up to the ops team, the details of that. Now, the developer can, get into the weeds if they want, but they're not required to. It eliminates the need for them to get into the weeds there. So again, like I was saying, the configuration consistencies, having to know all of the gory details of how things run in staging versus how things run in dev, or all of that can be abstracted away from a developer. Then this also allows, when it's no longer in the purview of developers, it also allows the platform team to, establish, configurations and golden paths and things of that nature, and standardization that, that's going to make them happy as well.
And is this mainly, Drew, is it meant mainly for development time, or would this even apply like to production? Like development time, I used, an embedded SQLite, but in production, I want RDS or something.
Yeah, that's the whole idea that, you say, you say I need an RDS database, and, you generate a Docker Compose file, and it's going to run that RDS database in a container for, kind of on your laptop. But then, when you push it up to dev, it runs on a VM, it runs on a VM that's been up for 10 years in dev, and then in staging, it runs on a cluster, and then in production, it runs on a bigger cluster with an S3 bucket to back it all up to. That kind of information gets abstracted away. They don't have to worry about that. They just say, hey, I need an RDS database. So that is exactly the idea. Yeah. And the idea here as well is when you kind of abstract that away, you take that off of the developer's plate. If the developer doesn't want to know the nitty gritty of connecting a workload in Kubernetes to a VM, then they don't have to. That can be handled by the platform orchestration. That can be handled by the platform team. And then, beyond that, things running in production, they get more complicated even. So, the amount of knowledge required to work in that is even higher. And there's no standardized approach. There's no surefire way to say to the platform team, this is what I need. This is the connection string, or, here is a parameterized version of the connection string that I might need. There's no standardized way to pass that information over to the platform team. So this is kind of the problem that we're solving here, is a standardized way of communicating your dependencies, both inside and outside of Kubernetes, And then what the benefit reaped from this standardization is, your developers aren't getting into the nitty gritty of load balancing and persistent volume claims in Kubernetes. That's good. So the infrastructure centric development, this allows it doesn't allow, but it causes your platform team to be overly involved your developer team to be overly involved. Sorry.
You mean this is the bad state, right?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, what happens is all right, now I need to know, I need to know what my programming language, and then on top of that, I need to understand how it runs in on-prem in OpenShift, but also how we're going to be moving it over to AKS. So now I've got to learn AKS. And the other thing that happens is your development starts being designed for whatever tech stack you happen to be working with. So then your development becomes more and more specialized in itself, such that when you do want to maybe make a shift from OpenShift to Azure or something along those lines, it's going to be a lot more work because you've involved your developers so deeply in your infrastructure side that they've written code perfectly designed to your infrastructure that day, not necessarily future looking or even more agnostic to allow a nimbler footprint and a wider footprint. So yeah, we're still in the problem thing. But then SCORE comes in, giving you this developer-centric platform agnostic spec and eliminates the configuration and consistency between the two. The way it does that is through this thing called, of course, it's a YAML file. It's a surprise to no one. That's going to capture all a workload's runtime requirements. Now, one thing to keep in mind is SCORE is, like I said earlier, it's scoped not just to Kubernetes, but to your platform as a whole. So SCORE can allow you to declare Kubernetes-based resources and dependencies. So, if it needs a persistent volume claim or it needs an ingress configured in a certain kind of way, that can be specified in your SCORE. But you can also specify things like S3 buckets, databases, external databases, other things that don't necessarily reside within Kubernetes, but are integral to its running. The nice thing about SCORE is a very tightly scoped spec. So, using SCORE, you can only get so far into the weeds just because it's designed to be platform agnostic. So, you're not going to worry too much about translating that to Compose or Helm or Nomad or Kubernetes or whatever it is you're running in. So that's the idea of the benefit from the developer side. And let's take a look at what a SCORE file would look like. So this is an example of this is an example of a test SCORE file. This is a SCORE file we use in our training and our tutorials. But you'll see here it looks suspiciously like a Kubernetes deployment file. It has a lot of typical Kubernetes style information within there. But it also has, again, these resources and database declarations that are going to be external to Kubernetes. And we have, if you go to score.dev, that is the web page. There's an entire, the spec is completely documented there with lots of tutorials and other ways to use it. So, but this is what it looks like. The idea is you would keep a copy of your SCORE YAML in the same place you're going to keep your Docker file. So the Git that contains your Docker file would also contain your SCORE YAML, and it would accompany that Docker file as it gets compiled, and then it would accompany that image, as it goes from dev to staging to production. All right. So I think we've pretty much that is the two parts of it that we've covered so far. It provides the platform of specification. It eliminates inconsistencies by allowing your platform team to set up things like golden paths and those types of specifications. Now, score in action uses a CLI tool, and it's the score implementation CLI, and there are multiple ones currently. We have Score Compose, we have Score Helm, we have Score Humanitec as well. And then what happens is you use this CLI file to generate a a Docker Compose file, or to generate a Helm chart, or to generate a delta for your specific platform orchestrator. So this is kind of a graphic representation of the previous slide here. So you have your score specification, you pass it through the CLI tool, Score Compose, Score Helm, Score My Private Platform Orchestrator. We're coming, there's going to be Score for things like Nomad, Score for things like ECS coming as well down the pike. And then, coming out of that is your Docker Compose, your Helm, or your own private platform orchestration setup. The YAML that's going to then be fed into your system that will then interpret, all right, RDS database connection string in staging this, setting up this database in the staging cluster, and providing the connection string to the workload. So this is kind of the idea of score in action. I'm trying to be good on time here. So what happens here is developers declare their workload separate from any platform environment. The target environment is responsible for making sure everything is running and set up. So it's the platform team that is going to be responsible for interpreting the output of the Score CLI and then running that. So in this type of environment, all of the worry of having to learn, deep dive into CNIs and mesh networks and Istio or something like that, you take that out of their hands and off of their plate to allow them to focus more on just the code. All right, so
just to go back, so I'm looking through. So in the spec, you specify different kinds of resources and services, and it seems like there's a type field for each one. And is that determining which underlying CLI tool you use to actually do the provisioning?
No, the underlying CLI tool would be determined by your platform. So if you're using Docker Compose, there's one called Score Humanitec, where Humanitec is a platform orchestrator. There's going to be one coming, I believe, for ECS. So that would be the thing, and then you would take the output of that and provide it to the platform.
Okay. How does Score, like when I Score run against this YAML, how does it know which, whether to use Compose or Helm or Humanitec?
It's the CLI that you use. So these are actually
these are separate
CLIs.
Got it.
Yeah, these separate CLIs. So in the case of you wanted to
sorry, I think Paulo had a question for quite a while and raised his hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. It's hard to see when I'm presenting. Someone else had a question? Yes.
Yes, Paulo had one.
Oh, okay. Hi. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for
Hi.
a presentation. I raised my hand because I'm in doubt about when you said configuration, but your answer, the next slide said, what's your focus? Focus on the environment. When you say developers, workload-centric development or developer-centric configuration, in my mind, I thought in not only environment but also configuration for the application. So, but your sentence now explained that is for the configurations, configuration here is focused on the platform, on the environment, right?
Yes,
Or
that is correct. Yes,
Okay,
you're very
thanks.
correct. Yeah. Sorry, I missed your question. I think I've got the thing that will show hands now. Hopefully. Was there was another question as well? I'm sorry about this particular.
I have a more abstract one. I mean, we see more and more projects appearing in the space that build something on top of Docker. On top of Helm, like application service definition, more abstraction. So my question, I think, is a bit more on the maybe 5,000 feet level. Why was Helm not good enough? Why didn't you choose to go something like Kubevela or like service catalogs? Am I really
So-
blanking on it right now?
No, that's a very good question. So the reason why we love Helm, this is not, we love Helm. Humanitech is very Helm-like in the way that it deploys to Kubernetes. But Helm is scoped to Kubernetes, and we wanted to make something scoped to the entire platform. So that's kind of the idea there. As far as Kubevela goes, that is that is workload resource. So Kubevela ties your workload specifically to the resource. Score is more about tying your resources to the environment. So in Kubevela, you specify, all right, I have this workload. This is how it runs in dev. This is how it runs in staging. This is how it runs in production. And that is tied to the workload itself. In Humanitech, in Score, this is what happens when you send this is substitute teacher problem. In Score, your specifications are tied and interpreted by the environment, not the specific workload. So you don't have to, you can just say, hey, I've got this workload, and then the platform team, the platform orchestration team can dynamically decide how that workload is going to run. You don't have the way Score does it is it moves it one step out from the actual workload. So that's the big difference there between Score and Kubevela.
Okay, I see. So which target platforms do you currently support? Obviously, you've Kubernetes with Helm, Docker,
and Humanitech, and then coming out, I believe next is going to be ECS, and then possibly Nomad. I'm not sure. So there are several people that are working on using Score for their organizations. There are several organizations that are working to use Score on their private in-house platform orchestration. So I know of that as well, but those are the current ones.
Does it, I think this is similar to Aloise's question. Is it that your organization needs to write the Score CLI that's appropriate for your environment in order to get these benefits?
If you're using your own private orchestrator, yes.
Like how does it know that in my organization, when I'm testing, I want to use RDS, and in prod, I want to use Azure Postgres? Like, there's not, like, somebody has to write that logic, right?
Yes, they already have that logic somewhere. If they're running now, they already have that logic either tied into complex Terraform scripts and other things, or in their CD system, or in their CI system, or in all of the above of those. And the thing with platform orchestrators is everybody already has one, but most of ours are pretty messy. And so that's why this whole field is kind of opening up now.
Gotcha. So you're saying like the implementation of Score my org might be call these Terraform scripts and use the parameters from score.yaml to fill it out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would recommend, something more something more along the lines of, Humanitech or some other off-the-shelf orchestrator. But absolutely, that at its core, we're all already doing.
Yeah. Will you have any sort of like I mean, I guess so. You have Score Compose, Score Helm. Those seem pretty generic. So like, do you have anything which is like deploy, a database, let's say, across any given cloud, or use SQLite locally? Is there, that kind of thing? Is there an example of that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. We do that all the time with Humanitech. Yeah, absolutely.
could you share a doc on that, like to show like what it would look like in my private org?
Yeah, for sure. We could even, we could come and give you a whole. I could give you a whole demo on how that would look. Absolutely, yeah, that's not a problem. And we have there are Score launches. There are Score tutorials in the deck here as well. I'm sorry I didn't get to those.
I mean, some feedback here, and I understand that not everything on this planet is Kubernetes focused, and obviously Docker Compose is nice as well. But especially as we look at projects, we tie them back to like the core principles of cloud native development, the operator pattern, even if it's not implemented as an operator. But I think one of the major changes, if you look especially in, I am not calling it a deployment use for the sake of simplicity here. I know that this is not just what it is, but does it also have some ideas around reconciliation when the environment is not in shape, idempotent deployment of configurations, or what's even the capability for running upgrades on existing environments, or is this left entirely to the CLI how to handle this? Because the way I understand it, I have this like very generic file, and to Josh's point, also then all the logic is like kind of in the CLI and needs to be re-implemented in all of those individual CLIs. I think it was a bit of a long question. So maybe two parts. Does it support something like reconciliation and idempotent deploying stuff? And if yes, where is it implemented?
It's implemented in the platform orchestrator. So yes, it absolutely does support that. And it is implemented in the platform orchestrators.
But that would require me, for example, to buy Humanitech. There is no open source version as part of Score for Platform Orchestrator.
Not yet, no. Somebody's going to build it though, hopefully.
So it would work with, like, what you mean is it would work with Kubernetes, or if you wanted reconciliation with Terraform, it would be like the Terraform Flux plugin, that kind of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It works with all of those.
Oh, okay, we're at the end of the presentation here, another half time, yeah. So, and your goal is to submit this as or have already submitted as a sandbox project?
That I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm going to beg substitute teacher on that one. I don't know what, that one I don't know, sorry. But I'll get with Susan and ask her.
Yeah, I think what would also be like really nice, like really relating it to a lot of the other projects out there. As Backstage was about meant before. Like we have Backstage, we have Kubevela, we have Crossplane. There are always so many projects in this space together with GitOps tooling. And it would be really good to understand how you see this fitting into that entire landscape and how people should use it, not just whether you're going to submit it as a sandbox project or so. I think just for people like building their stack, and Josh here is actually driving a lot of the initiatives around like platform engineering. I think as people build out their platforms, it would be good to understand like which piece of the platform puzzle does it really fit in, and how does it work together with others. That's what I'm still honestly struggling a bit with this presentation. I think I get the idea where you want to be. But I assume that these are also questions that might come up. So I'm already using Argo. How does this kind of help me? I can't run a CLI in Argo. Is this happening before? Is Argo just kicking in later? How do we work with my, say, for example, Crossplane resources if I want to use this? Or is this just to be totally agnostic and treating things as any type of Kubernetes resources? I think a bit more of an understanding in this front. I mean, I know we're jumping in here, but that would help me, and that's what I would consider helpful here, honestly.
So
And
in the case of cross-playing, again, I have seen that. We do that. You know, your platform orchestrator would just spit out a cross-playing YAML based on the information it got from the score.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
Because it's
I
really
mean, that's how we do it now. And, you know, for the
rendering
case
the
of
template.
in the case of GitOps, your platform orchestrator will spit out the magic YAMLs and put them in the magic GitOps directory, and GitOps will take it from there.
And to that point, like a lot of like Argo CD has like a renderer for Customize and Helm, and it doesn't have Compose. But it comes out, I'm kind of coming to the conclusion that Score is pretty much a renderer where you're taking a bunch of parameters and rendering it into a Docker Compose template, a Kubernetes template, you know.
Exactly. Yes. Mhm.
So there are those
Correct.
renderers in some of these others. There might be synergies there. I've actually been
Absolutely. Yeah.
thinking about that, like a set of standard renderers that could read any kind of bundle and
Yeah. Just forgive me. I am not on the open source side of Humanitas. So Souza is. She's, you know, she lives and breathes open source. So yeah, forgive me for you know, not being more of the for sale kind of guy.
oh, no problem. We're asking a lot of questions. You just
No,
got
no. These are great questions, and you know, she would know more about, like, you know, how, you know, yeah, fitting it in with all of, you know, the CNCFs. So I'm sorry.
I think we should also give Paulo the time to present
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, absolutely.
We run out of time to just bring
Sorry.
up it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's good. It's good we have the discussion, but just want to ensure that we also come
For
to
sure.
the.
Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
thank you.
All right, Paulo, you've got the stage.
Hello, hi. Can I share my screen?
Yes, sure, absolutely.
Okay. So first, nice to meet everyone. My first time here. I know the group a lot of time and follow the group a lot of time, but I decided to start to contribute and be more active here this year. So thank you so much for this this opportunity. So I'm sharing my screen, and I don't know why it's paused. Oh,
Sometimes it takes some time to.
okay, sorry. So my proposal is that about is related regards of study of microservice. The point is, I will try to explain using. I don't know what. Oh,
Hmm.
what's going on?
Maybe
I know.
unshare and share again to try to see.
I'll try again. Thanks, Jenny.
But it's a Google Doc. You can also share the link. So
Yeah, I can share the Google Docs. Let me get the I will share in Slack, right?
yes, you can use Slack or the chat here. We can also add it to the meeting notes.
Okay. I share in the Slack, and also stop again. I maybe oh, let me try. I will try download for my machine and use it. Here with another tool. Let me try. So the idea is try to develop a user group, work group, or interest special interest group to study and oh, share again, and I don't know. It's pausing
Yeah, I
again.
access. Maybe sharing for me works. If you grant me access, I'm happy to share.
I don't know why it's not sharing. Oh my God.
Can you send it to us? Like, you said
I
Yeah,
sent
you
the
didn't give
Slack.
us access. Yeah. You have to provide us with access. Which would be good anyway for people that they can look at it.
I will put anyone with a link. Okay. Anyone with a link. Now you
Yes. and it
get it.
works.
Thanks.
Okay, so then I might share for you and you just then tell me how to
Oh,
click.
thanks
Now
so
that should
much.
work, right?
Yes, perfect. Thank you so much. Sorry.
No worries.
If you can, okay. The point is, there is a lots of time we have the cloud native definition, cloud native architecture round around many things, and one of most important is microservice concepts architecture. So we can see that in the definition we have microservice is a key point for architecture for definition of cloud native, and if you go ahead, you can see also since 2016 cloud native mentioning microservice is a key pattern for cloud native architecture, cloud native definition. So we had events when software circles, another one that our chair, CNCF chair member said, I forget the name now, sorry, but I had to put here, but I will update here with the name. The guy talk about cloud native architecture, cloud native pattern, and using microservices as a key pattern for cloud native. So if you can go ahead, please. In the here, Alex Richardson. Alex said presented all the times about the microservice oriented architecture being key for cloud native, and we can say that the three pillars of our principles of cloud native architecture are microservice oriented. Could you go ahead, more one, and more one, please? The key design principles for microservice, so we can say, based on documentation, based on definition, based on presentation everywhere, we can say that we have the three pillar microservice oriented orchestrator, dynamic orchestration, and containerization. From the perspective of cloud CNCF, you can see in all tags, work groups, you can see the infrastructure or platform pillars, containerizing and orchestration being well led by all the security also with many groups working on this. But specific about microservices from the developer's perspective, the patterns, the how improved create architecture that get all the possibilities of the infrastructure that we are offering in CNCF, all projects, and CNCF, all studs and best practice. We don't have a specific group studying the first leg, in my opinion, the first leg, the architecture of the application, to get all this working well over the infrastructure, the platforms that we are creating. So my proposal, and you can go ahead, please. I put some slides to create the concept. This is all them come from CSF slides that show why microservices is important, why it is in part of the design principles, because efficiency, resistant utilization. So because of this, I think that we can, if you can go ahead more on time, specific, go to the 17th slide, 17th slide, more one. Mark, go ahead, please. I'm running because the slide is self-instructive. So the point is, Cloud Native Trail say we start with containerizing. So the point is, no, from the perspective of application, if you have a monolithic application, you can deploy it over containerized infrastructure or orchestrator or inside using observability, but at the end you cannot capture all the advantages of use cloud native when you have application, a monolithic application. So the first step could be move this application or build a new one or build a new functionality of this the legacy application in a microservice approach, using a microservice approach. So in my opinion, the first item should be build or construct microservice, and second, how you, of course, construct is the first phase, build, test, make everything works well, and now the second is containerizing, orchestrating, observability, etc. So the first point is how we make a good microservice, how we build a good microservice, so using the best practice, etc. So this the idea of the mission that I planned, the next slide I put this, the idea of a mission for the work group is collaborate with all areas, all groups, and others organizations to build the best practice or book of knowledge and for microservice architecture, and also create with this relationship with other groups a better way to build microservice, better way to create standards that make sense for microservice. For example, we talk about in the later presentation, we talk about configuration. When it's look to the application, you have one pattern, usually well known by developers from 12 factors, that is externalized configuration. In this pattern, we can use, for example, in Java, you have a platform that help us to externalize configuration, and but for example, you cannot use this for a Golang application. At the same time, we are in the later application. We talk about how make a standard way to with that platform score, how you can externalize and control, govern the infrastructure or platform configuration, but from the perspective of application, only application configuration. You don't have this, and it could be, for example, an item to start to standardize, and also works with other foundations. For example, Jakarta AI, Eclipse Foundation that has a project, Jakarta AI, that one sub-project is configuration. So why not work together and create a kind of standard for configuration that could be used by all kind of language or platforms or frameworks using such kind of pattern, like we have similar we have for cloud events. Cloud events is a pattern, is a standard that you can use to communicate in events in cloud. Why not have something for microservices from the perspective of a good cloud native architecture, and that use all the platform that we have. Also, we can see something similar when you have open API and when you have a asynchronous API. So it's a kind of development that we can put in a good or best practice for microservices, and can maybe will help us to build and deploy microservices and get the best execution runtime from the cloud or cloud native with orchestrated Kubernetes, etc. And we can work with these standards and best practice. Also, on other point with relationship, observability. We have many things from observability that is on the top of the application, but not inner the application. And there is a practice, architectural practice, named instrumentation, that we can work with, create a standard or improve or increase the Prometheus, for example, and to create applications items for observability, not only the execution from the perspective of environment, but from the business or the logic. We can work on this and improve the capabilities of observability to give a deep dive in the application, not only in the infrastructure. Also, I think that we have, in my opinion, we have a lot of study to do and correlate with other groups. And the question is we don't have this? Yes, we have many work being developed for folks from outside CNCF. We have, for example, the Open Group. The Open Group is the group that developed TOGAF, Enterprise Architecture Framework. They in the past, 2060, I'm not sure, but they developed a service-oriented best practice book of knowledge. Okay, it's good. And this group create also or try to create something for microservices, but this development stopped in 2021. And I think that, in my opinion, CNCF could be the best house or the best home to this kind of development, because microservices is something very important for cloud native architecture and for the definition of cloud native. And we have so much people talk about microservices, governance, supply chain, and microservices in the context of supply chain, etc. And in my opinion, we can grab all this work and create something that integrated here in CNCF. I put some examples that I said here in these slides, and this is my offering, my offering for the group, to application delivery group, try to analyze this proposal, and if possible, we we build this group and work in this concepts together. That is, thanks. I try to run a lot because we have only 10 minutes to finish. I put some examples of research that we have already in the network. We have many things there. So is this my suggestion for the group, and I mean I want to help if possible.
Yeah, I mean, this was kind of always in scope from the very beginning when we started app delivery. Honestly, we never exactly knew what very specifically to work on, because it's just such a big topic. So as you pointed out, I think the big challenge is that it's very ambitious what you're trying to achieve here, which is good, don't get me wrong. But my question would be like, what is the first thing? So like when we have been successful in the past and have seen things working out is, we did it around operators, like with Jen here, who worked on the operator white paper. With Josh here, who's done work on, or he's now doing work, also on regarding platform engineering. And I think that success of an activity like this will very much depend on getting a very clear focus and addressing a very clear need in the market. While there can be actually more there, and you need to get people involved. That's usually the biggest challenge in a working group, and this has been also a challenge in the past. So we know that people usually tend to get involved in tasks for two reasons. Because they're honestly paid to do it. I mean, to be fair, many people are working to get ideas that their companies are working on and elaborating them across the community, which is a fair point. And especially end users you get for solving a very specific problem that they're dealing with right now anyway. So my question back to you is, if they have to pick one thing that you want to work on over the next 3 to 6 months as part of this initiative, what would that be? Like, what would the delivery of the first realistically 6 months be?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, the first goal is producing a white paper that defines or try to define what the community understand, the cloud native community understand what is the best practice or the microservice architecture. What is this? Oh, could be the definition from Mark Fowler, could be, but in my opinion, it's not only this. Mark Fowler built a definition many years ago. Much of her work comes from there until now. And from the perspective of the first thing is create a white paper that as a base, a central point to define in the community opinion what is a good microservice architecture. And after that, if you have the base of this knowledge, we can try to deep dive in specific points. For example, what I say, observability. How we improve observability for microservices using the context of this white paper, of the content of this architecture, or how we can define the better way to externalize configuration, microservice configuration. For example, the later one, if you externalize that, if you define in the white paper that the good architecture is it microservice has specific dedicated storage, data storage. Okay, perfect. How can I define this as a standard that someone can change? For example, change from a provider of database for another provider of data store, and define this in a way that this interface make this easily to all implementation works on this. That is a point. As you
One thing
said,
one thing that
Bro.
to say comes to mind for me, like there's maybe a little bit unique with microservices, but a lot of the patterns, wouldn't they apply to pretty much any kind of cloud native application? Like, is it worth, rehashing the entire landscape for microservices, or maybe we can just generalize that as part of, tag observability has, a lot of thoughts about how to observe microservices amongst other architectures.
Josh, I don't know if I understand exactly what you asked me, but can you please?
Yeah, I'm just asking, like, should we think about it? In what way would microservices be so different from the other I mean, we're definitely think microservices is one of the top ones we think about in all of the domains. What would make it, like, what would be the difference between what we're doing now, let's say, and what in this? Like, can we just generalize microservices into cloud native applications? And we do application development and delivery. So is there something specific about microservices?
Oh,
Yeah.
in my opinion, today we already have a good starting point for definition of microservices in a general point of view. We have this also defined. My point is that we don't have work. We have this work made for different people from different groups, and we don't have a target is not a good, but a target relationship between what we define in the design aspect with what we are doing in the runtime aspect. There is not a group working on this next step. We have definition from the design part. We have frameworks, each one work with this aspect of the design, but no one is working on that three pillars together. So, for example, what folks from the Eclipse Foundation thought about observability in microservices, creating frameworks, creating specifications, what they are doing related with what we are doing in CNCF.
Are you saying, like, getting into the runtimes, things like Jakarta and MicroProfile and Dapper, maybe the one project I can think of where we are in the runtimes here in CNCF? It strikes me that there's not so many projects right now in CNCF that talk about, like, literally, like, development frameworks, like Node.js is not in CNCF.
No, yes, we have Node.js
and MicroProfile.
The Node.js is another foundation that works to develop Node.js, but for example, no one say how better run Node.js in the over containerized approximation here, but I try to simplify. But the point is, I think that we have this point very generalized way to see in the market by very good folks from the design point of view. From the implementation of application, we have different groups who work on that based on design, and some of them working personally with us, with CNCF. For example, I know that there is a lots of folks on Jakarta Air looking for what we are doing in CNCF, but looking for, but not together, not working together, or not with a kind of a specification, best practice that we can leverage the both sides.
Yeah, so maybe to
I'm-
jump in here because we're running out of time, and I'd like to get to
Oh,
to next.
sorry.
No worries. You were enthusiastic. That's great. So you're like really deep into this topic. I think there is something there. We have never figured out what it's going to be in the past. I see two things. Like you talked about a lot of organizations. The next step I would do is get those people involved and committed to dedicating time, because this will eventually be your biggest challenge. Then I would pick a small enough problem, like even like defining what a cloud native service looks like almost what you have here with the 12-factor application or whatever it is. I don't want to tell you what to do, and I think creating a working group like the organizational unit is the least of your problems. So the organizational unit can be created. Honestly, we have decided for some of the new activities, we don't even create a dedicated working group anymore. It's really the people working together and agreeing on something that they work towards producing a deliverable, whatever that might be, honestly. And that would be my recommendation as a next step. Like if you get all those people together and agree on a small enough deliverable that you can realistically given the timing, realistically have ready maybe for a birds of a feather for KubeCon EMEA, to get people together and then get momentum there. Then the working group is is a formal act that you might need or might not need depending on where I want to take this. But I think that would be really what I would focus on. If you want to have a dedicated meeting on this topic, we can help you obviously with calendar and scheduling. But I think that's really what I would focus on, because having the working group won't get you the time and dedication from the people. This is actually only needed at a certain point where you need the organizational support, which to some extent can be provided as well. Like you can have a regular meeting on working on microservice related topics already, but I don't know how far are you along with like getting people from all of those organizations or in these areas together to collaborate. And yeah, I think that's question one. And then my proposal would be to agree like on something really small that you can deliver to the community quickly to gain interest.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alois. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Alois. It's
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks so much. I think so. Yes. I put the work group name, but just because I understand that is a group for study, but not need to be exactly formal work group. I think in my opinion, we can work in a small piece of a small piece of code. Sorry, a small piece of the deliverables, very concise, very simple in the first time, and I will try to get all others interested in this. But my point, sorry.
And feel free to share and gain interest. I think the reason, because you had like really 12-factor app on here. I think what was great about the 12-factor app back in the days when it was done, because it was giving simple architectural guidance to not get things terribly wrong.
Yeah.
Getting just a collection about lessons learned and what most people got wrong without trying to necessarily implement a standard, because standards for architectures are usually very, very hard, if not impossible to implement. You might get to design patterns. I think that's also why the book is called Patterns. But things you really should not get wrong. And you have some examples, like what's the basic observability requirements you should have, like how you should expose how a service is doing. There's like lots of things, like even service versioning. How do you need to build a microservice so that it can be deployed and upgraded independently? Like talking to a lot of people and gaining, this is what we did wrong first. And this, it helps. And I think this will get you also traction, because practical advice is usually what people are looking for. That's I think generally where you see more people getting involved, if you solve a problem or discuss a problem that they're dealing with today, then you will definitely get a lot more momentum quicker. And that's, again, I think I'm repeating myself. I think that your vision is clear, like your end goal. I think it's really about that first step to make it small enough to really build up that momentum. Again, overall, I think it's totally in line with what this working group is doing. Let us know how we can help, what we can do. We can definitely use our channels to share something. Even getting this into a smaller blog post, that's also how Josh started a lot of the platform from related work. It usually helps if you can like put it in like half a page to 1 page where you want to go, and ideally have already people from those other organizations contributing. It has been a challenge. We never really we knew that we had to do something in that space, but we were never entirely sure what it's going to be. So it's great that you're taking the initiative. And let's try to follow up maybe the next meeting or the meeting after with a probably more concrete proposal. Maybe it takes you a month or so at least to get to talk to people. I think I would do it at your own pace, but that will be my proposal on how to continue here if this sounds good for you.
I just posted like a sample of like the charter, like maybe as a guidance on like how to start putting it into like writing, and then getting people like how some groups started like by drafting a charter, and then maybe can help you construct a narrative and gather interest. Like we started like this is on a GitHub, but we start like with a shared doc, and then send it to people, and then people start like having interest and commenting and stuff, and then in the future it becomes like a charter and then proposed. But yeah, again, some groups just start working with it, having meetings even without any official naming or something.
Yeah, I think it's a great, I think one of the most powerful things in the charter is a section that's called the non-goals. Like this is what we're not going to do. That also helps with a lot of the discussions when they tend to get broader again. So you have to be very clear. Are you proposing how to write a Java microservice or not? Or is it something that's handled by a framework? Are you telling people how to like dissect an architecture, or is it something that they need to do on their own? Like, what do you want to do and what do you don't you want to do? Is that they don't, I think, is even more important than they do.
Okay. First, Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing the sample chapter. I started to write down a draft. I shared with the shared here. Of course, it is a very simple draft that I started, and I will work on the suggestions. Thank you so much. And what in the end, what I want is try to develop the concept and develop the idea behind of the portion of development, the portion of the engineering, not the portion of the execution, and put it all together in the sequence. So thank you so much. I will work on the suggestions, and thank you for your time. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah, I think we're done for today. We ran a couple minutes over. Great conversations. Thanks for sharing. And yeah, let's let us know when it is a good time to have a more follow-up discussion here. Bye, everyone.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.